Lauren Boebert is under investigation for fraud. She's suspected of using campaign funds for personal purposes. The receipts are there thanks to FEC reporting. And the New York Times reports she's being investigated because allegedly Boebert inflated the mileage she logged on the campaign trail in 2020 and then used more than $20,000 in reimbursements from donors to pay off tax liens on her restaurant. Driving reimbursements are pretty standard for candidates and campaign staff because it's a job that requires being on the move. You've got to expend gas to get from A to B. And Lauren Boebert's district, Colorado 3, is geographically pretty large, but still not big enough to justify the reimbursement. The Denver Post reported that Boebert would have had to drive 36,870 miles in just over 7 months between April 1st and November 11th to justify the second payment. Boebert's reimbursements to herself in 1 year eclipsed her predecessor's reimbursements for over 10 years. So that's 3,700 miles. And for context, that is enough to travel the Earth's circumference 1.5 times. So clearly that in itself is fraud. But to stack crimes on crimes here, she's allegedly using the money to get out of financial trouble. Boebert has 8 tax liens from the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment totaling $20,000 and filed against Ms. Boebert from August 2016 to February 2020 for failure to pay unemployment premiums on her business, Shooter's Grill. And so this gets a little bit more interesting because the group that filed this complaint against Boebert is the same group that successfully targeted Representative Madison Cawthorn and put public focus on those controversies. But this probe is a little bit different from what we saw come out against Cawthorn. This is about Lauren Boebert directly taking her supporters' money and using it for her own personal financial gain. And the receipts are there, not for the gas purposes, but for the reimbursements that she filed with the FEC. So will her supporters actually care about this? Cenk, what do you think?
Well, so first I just want to say I like that this story has actual receipts. Not just proverbial ones, but and I want to give you more context. Her predecessor, also Republican in that same district, had been there for 10 years, also did receipts for gas, and it's a big district, drove around a lot, so got up to about $9,700 over 10 years. She did more than twice that in 1 year, more than the entire circumference of the earth. Come on, of course that's not true, but that's the thing with right wingers like Boebert and Trump and Alex Jones. Truth is optional. Like, if in fact, I don't know if they have a quota. Like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I'd love to tell you something true, but I'm all out. I only had 9 for the month, and so I'm gonna go with another lie here. Yeah, I went all around the earth. Yeah, give me $22,000.
This is one of those things that's crazy because there's such a simple, basic way of breaking rules and campaign money and the way you spend it on these types of things. Is it that she didn't think that this would catch up to her? You literally have the amount that you owed in tax liens on your restaurant that you then transfer directly over to that, and then you go with this ridiculous number of miles that you've traveled, none of which that you could believe anyone that looks into anything that you did would assume that it's on the up and up. So is the plan they're never gonna look? Is the plan once they look, they're gonna say, oh, it's Lauren, that's okay. What's the process? What's the thought process of how this is gonna work out? They're like the dumbest criminals ever.
No, but are they? Or is our side the one that's challenged? Okay, because look, the question is there ever gonna be any accountability? And to be fair to the right wing, JR, there almost never is for them, especially if they're in the elites, forget about it. Never any consequences. So she probably thought, I'll just call it the deep state. I'll just lie about it. Every one of my voters will believe me. I'll do a random insult of a Muslim or a gay person. Everybody will get distracted, be like squirrel. And then they'll love me so much for hating gay people and black people and Muslims, they won't care that I'm robbing them. And that gets to a really important point, guys. She's not robbing us. She's robbing you if you're a right winger. She didn't take money from TYT or George Soros or whatever. She took money from right wing voters who love her. This is donors, and this as far as I can tell, a lot of it is actual, like not even giant corporations, but you guys, if you're a right winger. So you're like, oh, Boebert, I love the way she hates black people. Okay, I'm gonna send her money or whatever, right? And so, okay, well, that's your choice, free country, right? And so you send the money and she's like, oh, my voters and my supporters are idiots. I'll just rob them and I'll pay my restaurant bills that I haven't paid in all these years. So, and I guess my question is, are you comfortable with it?
Probably.
And I think the answer is yes. Yes. Look, I'm gonna read you one stat here, because if you think, well, that's weird that the right wing is okay with their own politicians robbing them blind. Well, remember, an ABC News, this is graphic 6, an ABC News analysis of federal data found that on average, the death rates in states that voted for Trump were more than 38% higher than in states that voted for Biden post widespread vaccine availability. That means they got literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands more people killed that were in the red states, that were Republicans, that were right wingers. They convinced them that COVID was no big deal and that you shouldn't take the vaccine. So if you're willing to die to make a Republican politician happy, wouldn't you be willing to get robbed? And the answer is very likely yes. Remember, Steve Bannon robbed them and then Trump pardoned him for the crime and his co-conspirator got convicted. They say, oh, we're gonna build a wall, a private wall between us and Mexico, it's gonna be great. And then behind the scenes, they laughed. They're like, they got a yacht. They were drinking on the yacht. They're laughing at our own voters are so stupid. And they still listen to him. And they still like him. They're still voting for Boebert. So go ahead and get robbed. What do I care? It's not my money.
Yeah, we have a little bit more on this. So reporting from the New York Times, under scrutiny, Ms. Boebert's campaign later amended its claims to say the mileage reimbursement included other travel expenses and hotel rooms, though it still listed $17,280 in mileage reimbursements. So originally it was around $22,000. So this is still enough driving to be greater than the Earth's circumference. This is a lot of driving. And local news in Colorado was reporting on this back in February 2021, and we haven't seen major coverage of it since the American Muckrakers PAC started bringing attention to it. And so the Muckrakers PAC is actually who got this directly from the Deputy Colorado Attorney General for Criminal Justice, that's Janet Drake. And the Colorado Department of Revenue and Department of Labor and Unemployment said they'll investigate this. However, we're not seeing accountability from Washington. Complaints to the FEC have gone nowhere, and a lawyer for the House Ethics Committee declined to say whether the panel was examining the issue. So will she be held accountable? That is a big question.
Well, I guess that's the answer to my question. Is that she doesn't realize it, or she's like, I can get away with it. Looks like the answer is, let me just cut down a few miles, and they'll be like, oh, that's good enough, please move along, it's okay. You're Lauren Boebert, we're backing you up, and the corruption.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, that's the thing.
Fine.
Is she stupid, or does she think she can get away with it? I think the answer is both. Because when she resubmits the expenses after getting caught, and she still submits more more miles than the entire Earth. You know, if you went around the entire Earth, she's not even trying. Probably she didn't even do the math. She's like, oh, who cares, man? She's just put in that much. So what? So what? And she probably doesn't even know what the circumference of the Earth is, right? Like circumference. She's like, what is that? Right? No, I'm not interested in circumferences. It sounds weird. Sounds like a lib thing. Okay, but finally, guys, I don't care that the right wing got robbed. I'm glad they got robbed. They had it coming. But our laws are supposed to matter. If we never prosecute obvious crimes, it's a giant green light to criminals. It says, oh, why don't you come into politics? We'll let you rob anyone you like. Who cares? And we gotta live in a country of laws. You know what law is? It's just a different way of saying justice. Are we gonna have justice, or are we not gonna have justice? And I'm sick of all the elites getting away with every crime, including Lauren Boebert.
Maybe if they say they found this information on Hunter Biden's laptop, people would listen. Maybe that's.
Oh, that's an innovative idea there, right there. All of a sudden, right, we're like Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay, then Boebert's guilty. Wait, what? Okay.